is of course connected to romance, but sorry, sexual harassment was a different issue. The other side, gift giving and bribery. I already talked about this in our previous lecture. Morality and advertisement, public publicity. That one we shall still talk about it. Office romance is what we are switching to today's lecture, but I will go systematically because I already mentioned that. Determination of fair pricing policies, transparency in trade secrecy and corporate disclosure, product misinterpretation, issues of labor strikes, whistleblowing, money laundering, conflict of interest, inside trading. These are all issues concerning ethical issues. Let's talk of just wage. We have already talked about remuneration. I will skip this. Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment, clear policies. We have already talked about that also. Managing ethical issues of product misinterpretation. This is another issue of ethical issue. Comprehensive product details provide full details of a product, including ingredients, manufacturing date, expiry, any side effect, caution of product use, and consumption. Licensing and franchising information states the name of the license or the franchise provider, if collect labeling, these are, for information to be correct, this has to be taken into consideration, because the point here is saying when we are talking of a product detail, it must talk of the ingredient, it must talk of the manufacturing data, which includes the expiry date, it must talk of any other outside effect of the product, cautions about the product use and consumption. These are products which involve chemicals. So when there is a product misrepresentation, to avoid product misrepresentation, this must be taken to caution. There must be correct labeling, ensuring accurate labeling of product content, yarn type in the context, we mean color, fastness, washing instructions must be correctly labeled on the organization to avoid misinterpretation, not representation, but interpretation. Ethical advertising, also they must be avoiding of buffoonery or surrogacy adverts. These are adverts which influence people, full of lies. For an advert to be ethically correct, to avoid product misrepresentation, there must be removal of information that is not correct. There's a day, I'll give you this example. I saw guys selling chemicals that kill cockroaches. Someone will come with cockroaches and pour them there and immediately spray a chemical and the cockroaches die there and then, So one day this chemical was taken to be tested. It was realized that he was using a different chemical to kill the cockroach. He was using a kumquat with other chemical to kill the cockroaches faster. Yeah. Yes, hand is raised up. Who is raising a hand, please? I need to finish this. Someone's hand is up?
Yes, sir. I wanted to confirm something. Am I in right class, really?
Yes, this is BBA.
BBA?
Did you rejoin? No. This is BBA.
BBA, right?
I'll switch to another class.
Okay,
we finished your class already. I finished with your class.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't notice that. Yeah, so when this guy was advertising his product, he made a mistake he intended to attract people with the lie. So for our company to be ethical, we have to avoid this. User education, an advert or any information that has to be given out to avoid misrepresentation, there must be clear information that educates the users on how the product is working, which includes providing sales literature, information about the product. You teach your customers of how the product works, its benefit. If it has a side effect, you tell them, like tobacco. you find on the box, they say smoking causes cancer. Such information must be there to avoid misrepresentation. Workshops, organize workshop for industries, which is also very important to avoid misrepresentation, because in the workshop, information will be given to the clients. There is also comparative charts, offer comparative charts of the close substitutes. You have to tell people what product works with your product, which products they work together, or which product can they use if your product is not there. You need to also provide so that people don't misinterpret information. Morality of adverts, respective truthfulness. Of course, an advert must give true information. Respect dignity of human beings. An advert must not shame human beings or must not bring something shameful about human beings. So it should be an advert which is having the real facts and which is not bringing a danger to human being. Do not promote women as an object. I think some of these points, I should have checked them first. An advert should not promote women as an object, okay? It may be in the sense of using women as an advert tool, as models of that. So it should not put women as an object in that advert so that the woman looks like something to be used. Avoid irrelevant advertisements such as using beautiful girl's face for promoting a shaving razor. This example is a little bit not really there, but it's okay. But people use this. So in other words, what they're saying, you should avoid using pictures of women for a wrong reason, for a wrong reason. For example, shaving razors are always mostly used by men. So it is not ethical or legal or logical to use a woman when you're advertising a shaving razor. I have to just emphasize that, but of course, it's just an example on how a moral advert should look like. Be specifically attentive to advertisements that are focused on kids. Yeah, you should make adverts. If your advert is focusing on kids, you must avoid a content that is aimed at children only, beyond 18, all that you should do. Buffet isn't accepted. Of course, buffery, that is lying adverts. Surrogacy, those are adverts which involve information that is not true. Or like the example, surrogacy is like, for example, what I told you with the medicine over what? You use something else to confuse somebody thinking that is your product. Moreover, it is not. These adverts are many in the market. There are very many. So for an advert to be moral, we have to avoid such kind of activity. Understand intention, meaning, symbols. Adverts should be designed as per social responsibility. You must advise your adverts as per what do you really intend to offer your community. Limit use of celebrities that pay emotional buying. Avoid comparative adverts and verified claims. You must also look at those claims which are against your advert. Don't leave them unattended to. You must handle them. Vulgarity in your adverts. You must avoid bad language in your advert. Then the next ethical issue, I'm going faster because I have to finish this. The next ethical issue is what you call the gift giving. I try to differentiate this between bribery, gift giving, and cooperative corporate responsibility. Gift is something just you give somebody with no bad intent, with goodwill. You just give it with goodwill. You don't intend to influence that person. When you give somebody something and you tend to make that person accept, you're bribing that person. But gift you give freely. This one is to answer Mr. Peter's question. Gift giving is defined as an act of extending goodwill to an individual in an effort to share something with them. You just feel like sharing. Business are built on personal relationship, and gifts are an integral part of those relationships. Of course, you can share gifts within, so it becomes part of a relationship. Reasons for gift giving: to show appreciation, to effectively establish goodwill with business partners. You need to have good relationship with your partners. Also, gifts can be used for advertising. Also, gifts can be used to complete effectiveness or to compete effectively against competitors. to compete effectively against competitors. Some people give gifts so that you compete off with that you kick off your competitor. Factors to determine a moral gift. What are those factors for you to consider that the gift you've given is not for bad reason? Value of the gift. You must look at the value of the gift. What is the value of the gift? If the gift is worth something beyond something that can be accepted as a gift, then it is not accepted. What is the power of the gift? Why are you giving the gift? I've already talked about that. If you're giving to influence somebody's decision, then that is not a gift. You must give, you don't receive back. The gift was given and received. What was the reason for you to give it? Or under what condition were you in by the time you were giving that gift? Were you squeezed because you wanted help, or you just gave because you feel you're generous and you want to help? Positions between and relationship of the giver and the receiver. When you're giving your gift, how do you relate with the person who you're giving or the one receiving? Acceptable business practice in the industries. What business practice are there? In the procurement, there are limits of how gifts are given. There are limits. In procurement law, a gift must, if it's a gift, it must be something that is branded. A calendar, a pen, you know those. But when something is personal, like a car, someone comes and gives you a car, that one is coming because of the reason. It could be a gift, though, it depends on the intention, but from the way you understand it, it might be to influence the procurement officer so that someone is offered a contract. Company policies, also you must consider your company policies. What are their guidance against gift giving? Laws and regulations, I've already talked about the procurement. Bribery. Bribery is another issue which is also very serious. Yes, we talked about bribery already in our previous lectures. We talked about the type of bribery, active and passive. Then office romance is where I was the other side before I switched here. Office romance exists when two members of the same organization develop a relationship mutually. I already looked into that. An individual spends increasing hours in working place by beginning to spend more time with co-workers, building relationship. While love can make one do crazy things, it is important to keep a clear mind and realize the do's and the don'ts, or the advantage and the disadvantage of doing a relationship, of developing a relationship in a workplace. Advantages, this is where he joined. To energize work moral, I've already talked about that. Motivate employees, I've already talked about that. When employees are left to relate romantically somehow, they are motivated, as I gave example. When men work together with women, there is that, men become more active, naturally. That's how human beings are. Encourage attractiveness and emotional innovation also is another one. Somebody becomes sharp, because you socialize, sometimes you share ideas. Softens work-related personalities, conflict. Also, it can reduce conflict in workplace because people have a relationship they have built, so people don't easily fight, because they are relating mutually in that way. Improves teamwork, communication, and cooperation. Of course, that is also an advantage. Disadvantages. It threatens career advancement. How does it threaten career advancement? Somebody will always be favoring another one because I'm related to so-and-so, so I have to be helping this person. So it becomes very hard for the person to develop because all this time the person is being helped because they have a relationship. For that example, there could be other areas of how career advancement could be caused and it is affected because of romance or what. Complicates work relationship. It becomes hard for if you are a manager and you have a staff you're supervising and you're dating that staff, it is very hard for you to supervise that staff because of the relationship, but you will always be favoring that person. So it will complicate how you work, people will relate at workplace. Co-workers, confusion, to cause confusion, jealousy may come in, so-and-so is dating so-and-so, all that, it's not good. Work performance declines, as I've already given an example, supervision becomes very hard. A manager dating a staff that is supervising becomes hard. A boss with a secretary becomes hard for the boss to supervise the secretary. Conflict of interest, of course, you'll always be having your own interests at work. They want to transfer your girlfriend to a field, you'll say, no, she's not going because she's going far from you. Maybe also in fields, another man will take her, all that. So that what becomes not good to have issues of office romance. Conflicts of interest within workplace. Now, this conflict of interest could be between stakeholders. Now, conflict of interest, it's supposed to be a point of its own. It's supposed to be a point of its own. I don't know. Yeah. Conflict of interest is also another ethical issue. The conflict of interest is whereby somebody has his own interest as a person against a company policy. Then he will just be confused. Should I do my own interest? For example, you're a procurement officer and you are to issue a contract. In the contract, there are two companies. One belongs to your relative and one does not belong to your relative. You will have a conflict of interest. Should I give my relative because he's my relative, or I should give the other person because the company, because maybe he won the contract? You know, the other one clearly has the qualification. Your relative maybe was the second runner. So you already having a conflict of interest. Should I give my relative, or I kick off that one, or I kick off my relative, then give this one? That's conflict of interest. So other the stakeholders and employees. Stakeholders could be the bosses, the shareholders. They want to bring in their staff, and the staff say, don't bring that person. Managers and employees also can have conflicts of interest. Employees absenteeism. Okay, the conflict of interest that can come between managers and employees can be because of employees absenteeism. You're confused. Do I penalize this person or not? Discrimination also is another part. What do I do? Because you have your relative in front of you, and should I discriminate or not? Change of leadership. You feel, should this person be demoted or be transferred or not? Account transparency. Also, there can be conflict of interest in account transparency. Because the person who may be played around with the money is your relative, you cannot just betray the person. So it becomes a conflict of interest. Then a conflict of interest between employees and employer, employees and employees between themselves, people of the same line, management. The conflict rises from different values. What you value is not what the other person value as important. What you see as a priority is not what the person you're working with doesn't value it. Opposing interests. You need to buy a product from China, but your friends say, no, we buy from Japan. You see, this is already conflicting interests. Personal problems. You have personal issues between yourselves. So it becomes hard for you to work together. Personal conflict also, personality conflicts also can be another issue that can be risen. Discrimination, I already talked about this. I talked of the type of discrimination in our lecture. Trade secrets. I want to go quick because we are stopping at 6:30. Trade secrets, also known as proprietary information. Trade secrets are vital to the success of any business. Proprietary information is whereby the information of the company is kept secretly without an aim of throwing it anyhow for people to know. That is keeping it secretly. Trade secrets are kept because Coca-Cola up to today has kept secret the trademark. Coca-Cola up to today has kept secretly not the trademark, the original mixture of how Coca-Cola is produced. This is a company secret, for example. And it is kept in the bank where nobody can access it. This is to avoid competition. They give the business a competitive edge as long as the information remains confidential. When trade secrets becomes public, they lose their economic value. What I just told you with the Coca-Cola. Trade secrets are companies' alternative potential and copyrights. I've already given you the example as means of protecting inventions or formulas. I've already mentioned clearly with the Coca-Cola formula how they mix their Coca-Cola up to today. It's even the example is here. I had not even seen that. The formula of Coca-Cola and the receipts for KFC, Lickens. This is the chicken. You know how this KFC prepare their chicken. You know, they are the only ones. They keep the secret in how they mix their chicken, and they keep on competing. Example of company secrets could be customer identities or preferences. Vendors, you don't need to expose your vendors. You don't need to expose your product pricing. The moment you say, I'm going to charge this price, you don't need to tell anyone until people will find it in the market. Market strategies, you don't need to tell people how you're going to market your product. Company finances, you don't need to show people unless it's a public-private company. Then by law, you have to always publish your accounts. But private limited companies, you don't need to give out your accounts unless the government requests for them. Then you give, but it is not necessary you have to give. But government entities obviously have to be giving their accounts outside. Argument for legal protecting trades. There are at least 3 arguments for legally protecting trade secrets. Trade secrets are intellectual properties of a company. The theft of trade secrets is unfair to a competition. Employees who disclose trade secrets violate the confidentiality owed to their employee. Option to trade secrets, limit access to information. How do you protect? You limit access to information. You develop security and monitoring procedures. And also, you use confidential and non-compete or non-disclosure agreement. People swear, use confidentiality and non-compete. People must swear that I so-and-so, but even it means going to the court, the person swear in the court. If he disclosed that information, then he has to face the law based on the oath he took. That's how we protect our secrets. Corporate disclosure. Corporate disclosure is the information the public company, mutual funds, or corporate insider you must disclose to the investor party or to anyone who is affected. It is about all the information that the corporation is morally obligated to disclose, which coincides with much that is legally required. I just talked about this. Information can be disclosed, but when it is according to the company's corporate order. Ethical principles of corporate disclosure. How do information has to be disclosed? Each person has a right to access the information or needs to enter into the transaction fairly. Each person has a right to know those actions of others, but will not have a serious adverse impact. Importance of the corporate disclosure, or why information must be given, the corporate one, not all information, in other words. Protect the right of stakeholders. Of course, shareholders, must know how the company is operating and what is needed. Important in Nepal, as most companies are dominated by a few majority shareholders and families. So in Nepal, it is very important for this to happen because shareholders have to know. Product misrepresentations, I already talked about that. After product misrepresentation, we also have what we call, another ethical issue is what we call the caveat emptor. Caveat emptor, translated to let the buyer be aware. It assumes that every purchase involves the informed consent of the buyer. With this, it assumes that the buyer must be aware about what he's buying, about the product that he's taking home. Under this principle, buyer has the responsibility to look out for their own interests and protect their own safety when purchasing a product, unless contract or other enforceable agreement allows otherwise. So before a buyer buys a product, he has the right to investigate that product so that he gets the information that he needs to protect himself, so that he be safe before buying a product. It implies that it is the buyer's responsibility to show due diligence in avoiding questionable product. If they are consequently dissatisfied with the product or service, it was regarded as their own responsibility. So a buyer has to decide whether he takes the product or not. So that one is another ethical issue that companies must adhere to, whereby a buyer is given the freedom to choose what he wants. You're not supposed to influence. It's more connected to our advertisement. Information, it's connected to information, needs interpretation. Then whistleblowing is another ethical issue. I think you have never heard of whistleblowing. It's not the first time this word has been talked of. Whistleblowing is more into disclosing information about something that is bad within an organization. Whistleblowing can be allowed or not allowed. It depends on the circumstance that the person is going to disclose. Let's go through our slides. Employees' disclosure of illegality, immorality, or illegitimate practice on an employer's part. You disclose what the company is doing wrong, and you blow the whistle. You tell the people. You know, it depends on the mechanism on how it is. You could tell that some companies give freedom for people to be able to talk about the company. When you go to the bank, you find a suggestion box, put somewhere. All these are other tools used for whistle blowing. You may see a teller is not behaving well, was rude to you. You can just use that to accuse maybe to the government or maybe even to the upper office by writing or filling the form, and you already blown the whistle. I just give that as a simple example. Though it is mostly within the organization operation. Within the organization operation, mostly. Often involve reporting wrongdoing to outsiders, regulatories, agencies, or newspapers, which I have already mentioned. The purpose of whistleblowing acts as an effective ethical safeguard. Of course, it protects people in case of something is wrong, allows companies to deal with and put an end or an ethical, legally, or socially responsible action. Whistleblowers are crucial for discovering or publicizing these issues. So there are people who always do the whistleblowing. Even in South Sudan, we have whistleblowers. Most of these people who go on media, oh, this is wrong, oh, this is not done right, oh, those ones are doing whistleblowing. They are trying to expose. Protecting of whistleblowers. Of course, these whistleblowers are in danger. There are people who you talk about, or a company you disclose its secrets of its wrongdoing. Of course, they don't like it. So these whistleblowers must be protected. Why protection is necessary? Whistleblowers take significant risk to expose wrongdoing. Companies must make dedicated efforts to protect them. Very important. For companies who accept whistleblowing, they must also accept to protect these people. Protection ensure the system function effectively and encourages future disclosure. So if you protect your whistleblowers, it will be easy for people to continue blowing the whistle. Otherwise, if the first blower is affected or beaten or whatsoever happens to him, people will stop blowing whistle about you. They'll fear, such kind of thing. If it's a company that is selling fake goods, that has no customer care, and all this, and bosses want such kind of information, so that they protect their company. Organization barrier to whistleblower, challenges within organization, restricted chain of command. Very hard for you to break. When the chain of command is so restricted, it becomes very hard for you to do whistleblowing. Before you go to the top management, you have to go through the askari. The moment you tell the askari, I came to accuse this guy, I came to you because your staff did this to me, Kalas, the askari will block you from going. That is already a long chain of command, and the company will continue keeping a bad record in the market. Strong work group identities where people have strong relationship. For example, the romance. It becomes very hard for the other to accuse the other one, or the other to blow a whistle on another one. Ambiguous priorities. Everyone has his own priority, I cannot blow whistle to this because I know he's going to increase my salary. You see, I'm not going to do this because this one is doing me this. You have a priority. You do this because I don't want this to happen, because you need something out of that. So that one becomes, it will obstruct the whistleblowing. It makes it difficult to report unethical practice to higher level managers, can create fear of retaliation or lack of a clear reporting path. Working group identification, these are the other points, and because I want to go on this. Measures to overcome whistleblowing barriers, designate specific individuals. Of course, people must be there individually to do whistleblowing. These individuals can provide guidance, establish a clear and accessible channel for ethical consent. Conflict of interest, I've already talked about that. Insider trading, actual conflict of interest. This occurs when, I talked of conflict of interest. Okay, conflict of interest. I don't know how this point is coming here with it. Okay, let me put it as insider trading, because in the other slide, the point is as insider trading, not conflict of interest. Actual conflict of interest, this actually, when a person's interest leads to a person's act, pardon me. Okay, insider trading. Who is an insider? An officer, director, or owner of a 10% of or of a class of a company security. Insider trading, the act of buying or selling a company stock on the basis of inside information about the company. You use the company to sell what is for your interest, but you use the name of the company. You trade within the company. That's what we call insider types. We have legal insider trading and legal insider trading. The illegal one, buying or selling so you I've given you of selling using the company name is also you disclose information about something for your own interest in advance. Before a company said this is our price, already you have got and given it to someone. You know, this is also another example of what we call insider trading. You do something for your benefit when you're using the company itself. Okay, legal ones, of course, they say they are legal, illegal. The other first one is an illegal. Then these are the legal ones. Occurs when corporate insiders, officers, directors, or employees buy or sell stock in their own companies. Buy or sell their own, buy or sell stock in their own company. This is when somebody within the organization do the trading within the organization. For example, we have water we are selling, then an employee will also buy the water. This is legal. That is trading within. That is legal. There's no problem of that. When it is a stock you're selling off, the director will also come and say, let me buy this stock. But it is his company producing. There's nothing wrong about that. This is permissible as long as it is done in accordance with the regulations set by the governing body. There are some bodies, the US, and are typically requiring public disclosure of such trade. Legally or unethical nature of insider trading. This is taking a lot of my time. My time is going. Let me talk of profit motives. It refers to the ethical regarding profit motive of a business. Now here we are debating, is it wrong for a company to work strictly with an aim of making profit? Is it wrong? If a company has a profit motive, is it wrong? How is it moral? Is it immoral or moral? So I want you to read through this. These are points you can read and you get them on your own. I want to stop exactly at 6:30. Then let's talk of the last topic, which is the corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility, which is abbreviated by the word CRS. Corporate social responsibility, BE, that is business ethics, refers to individual work groups deciding that the social evaluates as its own right. We already know business ethics. I don't want to go so much to that. I want to pick from the social responsibility, whereas I want to come to the corporate social responsibility, the point next, whereas corporate social responsibility is the broader concept that concern with the impact of the entire business organization activity in the society. I already mentioned this previously. The organization can go out there and do something to the community. For example, let's say a company is establishing a farm of a farm. Okay, we have companies outside Juba that are having farm. What they can do, they can construct the road from the main road to their farm. But remember, there is a community around them. So that community can benefit from that road. Or they can say, let's construct boreholes in this community where our farm is. So they'll put boreholes outside there in the community. They can say, let's put hospitals in the community. Let's put a school in the community. That is what we call corporate social responsibility. It's something lawful that every company is supposed to do. When a company is going to implement a project anywhere, it must make sure that the community around it or the community where it is located must benefit from its project. Not for the sake of profit specifically. Of course, some of these they do it so that they have a lot of people, they know them, people praise the company and all that, but it's to give back to the community, and it is legally. Corporate social responsibility is in a different ways or levels or nature. We have the voluntary responsibility, the company voluntarily. Then secondly, we have the ethical responsibility. You do it because that is your ethical behavior, morality. The company ethically believes we have to always give. Not voluntary, but ethically. Legally is what I say. You have to give because the government says if you invest in our community, you must do some construct the road, build a school, do this, all that. Economic could be you do it because which is taking the biggest gap. You see there, it's taking the biggest gap because no you. And corporate responsibility. I'm going to skip this so that this one we already looked at them in our previous lectures. I want to go to social responsibility straight. According to United Nations Industrial Development Organization, they define corporate social responsibility as managing concepts whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations and interact with the stakeholders. The types, according to the UN, of course, they should integrate the social and environmental concern around them, people around them. They should bring it within their business operations, as I've already talked about. That is according to the UN. The types, ethical corporate social responsibility. This one is from I think it's supposed to be from here. Yes, this one is the same like the other one, the pyramid. Let me see the difference with this. The types, the ethical corporate social responsibility is responsible to avoid social harm and injuries. For the ethical social responsibilities, you're for avoiding injury. You do something to the community because you don't want people to get injured. Harm. Maybe you construct a road so that people can move freely. There is no problem. People are not having a problem with movement connected to bad roads, in other words. We have the altruistic corporate social responsibility, contribute to the common good at the possible expense of a business for humanitarian cause. Altruistic, as the word suggests, you're doing a corporate social responsibility as a humanitarian, as a give back. Humanitarian. You can say, okay, let's supply clothes to the community. Just that is under. Or you say, since we are our school, or since our company is located in a place where there is flooding, let us dig dikes for the people. And the company will dig dikes for the people. Give food for the perfect, because when there is a disaster there or an atrocity there. Then strategic corporate social responsibility, farm social welfare responsibilities accepted as an organization's culture through a strategic plan addressing basically to the stakeholders' issues. This one, you do it based on what the bosses, the ones on top, they decide. Benefits: increase employee loyalty and retention, increase quality of product and services, increase customer loyalty. These are the advantages of cooperation. If you give back to the community, this is what you get back. Greater productivity and quality, reduce, because with greater productivity and quality, remember that interaction. So people can give back their feedback easily. So from there, it's easy for you to improve on your product. Reduce regularity oversights. You reduce the government to always monitor you because they see you're working within the community. Access to capital market, also it helps you to access capital. People know this company this is good, so let's invest. It helps in that. Product safety, people can protect your company. In case of anything, your product is safe in the market because people are loyal to you. Overall image increase. This one, your image about your reputation will also increase in the company. Let's look at these domains. I'm trying to see. Whoa, I have another topic. God have mercy. I need to finish this. I think I may not be able to finish this, dear students. Surprisingly, I have another topic. I forgot, I didn't check this I didn't calculate it well. So what to do, since we have another topic, I don't know how we are going to do that. Can we read this last topic on our own? Then if there are questions, you can interact with me, because it's just the same thing. It's just the relationship between the ethical issues, the law, and the global challenges. I will give that topic to you people because we have to close lectures by today. November, we are not supposed to do lectures again. So the last topic you can read on your own, then you can interact with me. Let me finish the ethical domain and responsibilities. The domains of the corporate social responsibility. There was a gentleman called J.A. Carroll has provided 4 domains of this. He suggested domains needs to be fulfilled by the business. He suggested the main issues that has to be the domains, are those main characters or points that the company must cover up. The empirical studies also show the support of these facts. Of course, he's also supporting the other setting, the first one we already talked about, the ethical, the legal, and economical, as we already talked about in our first lecture. The ethical domains, according to AJ, and social responsibilities, they include job creation of the society. A company must create job for the society. High level of operating efficiently. You must be able to operate with the limited resources possible and produce what you want. The company must also make sure that there is profitability in its operation, as also another corporate responsibility. Sorry, that is under economical responsibility, which is of course under the chain. As you give back to the community, you can get back your profit. A company also will be able to compete, must be able to compete under that, under the economical domain. They must be able to compete because you're giving back to the society and you're competing possibly. Then you must earn per share. They must maximize what we call maximization of EPS, earning per share. Everybody who has invested his share in the company must be able to get back because there is corporate social responsibility in the company. With legal domain or responsibilities, abiding with the commercial laws and responsibility of the business, meeting legal expectation of the government, fulfilling legal obligation in time and without getting any penalty, of course, because you're doing the social responsibility, you're giving back the community. Transparency requirement as per the law. If the law wants your books of accounts, you have to give them. Fulfill legal safety and requirements in the work environment. The ethical domains, This one now I will not go through them because we have looked at that. Then the philanthropy domains, the upper one, offering charity to the local community on regular basis. I've already talked about that. Assisting promotion, artistics, works, and fine art. Participating in participation of managers and staff on social campaigns. Assisting private and public education institutes. I've already talked about these points, members. Social responsibility implication strategies. How do you implementation strategy, align with the core business? You must make sure that your social responsibility must be in line with your business objectives or your business core activities. You must also engage with the stakeholders, who are your shareholders, so that they must see which corporate social responsibility should they prioritize. Set clear policies and goals. You must have clear policies and goals and objectives of your corporate social responsibility. What do you intend to achieve? They must be clear. In what period of time? As it is, must be smart. Assign responsibilities. Create responsibility. You look for that abbreviation in your free time. SMART objectives. Allocate resources, budget, and provide financial and humanity technical support. Build. Okay, let me finish with this. Build a corporate social responsibility culture. People must know this is our behavior. We must also give back to the community. Partner and collaborate with other NGOs, community, and organizations. Implement projects, plan, execute, and track your corporate social responsibility programs. You must know this program has brought back what? When was it implemented? It must also, that is another strategy. You must also monitor and report using your key performance indicators. That is the KIPs. You must monitor your corporate social responsibility activities based on key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are those standards that you've set to check what has happened. If you say, we must build a school that looks like this, like this, like this, that's your key performance indicator. They are indicators. The paint must be blue. There must be 3 windows, blah, 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 all that. So you must look at that point. You must improve continuously your key performance indicators. Sorry, your corporate social responsibility must be a continuous thing. It should not be once and it should stop. Dear students, I'm leaving this last topic for you to read because all the issues here are just the summaries mostly of what we have been tackling.